Hello and welcome along to Brands Hatch. Now we're here for the 5th round of the Lotus Cup Europe. The 9th and 10th races of the season will take place over the next couple of days, and for once we've got glorious sunshine. Now, with qualifying just finished here at Brands Hatch, it would seem that John Ras is determined to keep on top of that championship leaderboard, qualifying in P1 in production class. Now, Jeremy Lorenko is also following closely behind on that championship table and qualifying P2 overall. So let's go down there and find out how the drivers are feeling ahead of race 1. Jeremy, now you've qualified in 2nd place, haven't raced at Brands Hatch in a while. How are you feeling ahead of race 1?
I'm very impatient for the first race. There's a good feeling at Brands Hatch. It's a difficult circuit, and I'm very happy to come here. There's a good atmosphere, people are very nice. I would have liked pole, but I'm happy with 2nd place for now. I can't wait for the race. It's going to be good.
John, now it seems your winning streak is going to continue, qualifying in P1. How are you feeling ahead of race 1?
As I said, I don't want to talk too fast, but I know I'm doing a lot of mistakes on this track. I know a little bit of track. I went there 2 years ago in a 211, and then I used to drive my old Exige there. But this car is different, and I still have to learn the car and the track. So, yeah, I don't want to talk too fast.
Now, it's a difficult circuit. It's quite fast out there in certain places as well. Well, how are you finding it to drive?
It's a really difficult circuit to learn, and you don't have to brake a lot. You have to keep a lot of speed, and for people like me, it's not easy. So we have to learn, and we learn slow. So maybe I will try to go fast, and I hope I will do my best for the race.
John, well, congratulations, qualifying in P1. Obviously not raced here in a couple of years. What's it like out there?
It's good. It's a lot better than it was when we tested here a few days ago, which was bucketing down with rain. But yeah, the track's good. Car feels good. You know, looking forward to the race.
We're on the grid for race 1 of Lotus Cup Europe here at Brands Hatch, of course on that GP circuit, which is just under the 2.5 mile mark. Now, John Walker benefiting from that home advantage as they head straight into Paddock Hill. Now, 34 cars will follow behind him, so it's time for me to move out the way and you watch the action.
Absolutely gigantic field here at Brands Hatch for the Lotus Festival, headlined by the Lotus Cup Europe, with Jonathan Walker heading the grid from Jeremy Lorenko. Then it's Gregory Ras and Xavier Georges, a very strong row 2, and Steve Williams should fly from 5th. Still they keep coming. Nicolas Ferrer from 12th, but expect to see him climbing up through the field as Jean-Pierre Jeuning-Frachet has had great success in the past. John Ras has been the pace setter all season long amongst the production class runners, and he is to the fore of that group, together with a number of his closest rivals. 35 of all completed by Kai Kederholm and Yves Kureman. The Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, always popular with the drivers. Mid-speed corners and plenty of undulations make it a unique challenge as we get ready for the rolling start. The 2 Lotus Exige V6 Cup R's on the front row. The white car of John Walker, the dark orange car of Jeremy Lorenko, and it's Lorenko who gets the jump on Walker as they charge towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Lorenko swooping down through the right-hander. He leads. Walker in 2nd place. Up into 3rd has come Gregory Ras, and then it's Xavier Georges in 4th as they climb up Harewood Hill into Druids. Already Lorenko covering the line of the hairpin from Walker. A pair of them run side by side downhill. We're in cart with John Packer towards the tail end of the top 10. I think it's Nicholas Walker just ahead of him, and also Nicolas Ferrer making a good start as the field surge through the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend along the Cooper Straight, and then Surtees. Ferrer just moving around in front of Packer, the car a little bit squirmy as they then climb out onto the Grand Prix loop. Ready, front of the field. Lorenko under pressure from John Walker as they turn through Hawthorns. Just downshift the gear, dab the brakes, then on towards Westfield Bend. Again, another slightly tighter than you expect. Andrew Walker just getting a little bit of heat into the tyres, understeering out wide. That gives Lorenko some breathing space. The very front of the field as the rest of the pack plunge downhill. Already the leaders out of Sheen Curve into Stirling's. In car, 2nd place man John Walker looking back towards Gregory Rass in the first of the Evoras. They're well represented here at Brands Hatch this weekend. Jeremy Lorenko at the front of the field has had a fine run of form over recent events, and that is continuing in these early stages here at Brands. But the Grand Prix circuit can be very unforgiving. It's one of those circuits where the tiniest mistake can punish you both in terms of time and possibly a trip into the gravel trap. Through Druids and Lorenko winning the battle with traction on that occasion. John Walker though possibly a little bit smoother. Lorenko then has to just get the braking right for Graham Hill Bend. He misses the apex on that occasion, runs out a little bit wide over the curb, so does Walker. The pair of them, however, both easing away from Gregory Rass in third. Rass has got Xavier Georges staying with him for company as they swoop through Surtees. Production class, as ever, always full of action. There is Phil Capstick, that's Tamas Vizin just behind him in the bright white number 31 car. Capstick under a little bit of pressure from Vizin into Surtees. We go in car with Phil. He heads on to the Grand Prix loop. Sequential shift gearbox. I think that is possibly our production class leader in front of us. Indeed it is, and that is John Rass, who's broken clear of his nearest class rivals. He's got the cars of Capstick and Vizin between himself and the rest. Now, this isn't the first time this year that Phil Capstick and John Rass have done battle. Of course, they memorably did so at Magny-Cours, where Rass was so agile through the corners and Capstick along the straight stuff. Looks as if it might not be a not dissimilar story today. Through Sheen, and then Sterling's on towards the conclusion of the lap. In car with John Walker, meanwhile, right at the front of the field, through Paddock Hill Bend. Plenty of steering lock from Walker as he pursues Jeremy Lorenko. Now this is slightly different from Lorenko's recent trials because he's not breaking away in quite the way that he has been doing. Downhill into Graham Hill Bend, and Lorenko misses his apex by a long margin, and that's the opening that Walker needed. He snatches the lead of the race and bursts through past Jeremy Lorenko. It was a tiny error from Lorenko, and it's compounded by trying to retaliate into Surtees, and that forced him out wide as well. So as a result, he has lost that place and he's lost a little bit of ground. Fortunately, however, Gregory Rass in third place isn't really near enough to challenge the pair of them in front of the field through Hawthorns on towards Westfield Bend. This is the section of the circuit the drivers absolutely love. Brands Hatch Grand Prix loop, completed in the early 1960s, held its first World Championship Grand Prix in 1964, and if you get a chance, do look up the film Brands Hatch Beat, which is a colour film of that first Grand Prix on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. What you would see is just how little the layout of the track has really changed. Well, there's Steve Williams in the Evora, who's just beginning to close up on to Xavier Georges. The fight for fourth and fifth as we ride in car with the race leader John Walker out of clearways and along the Brabham Straight, which is quite evidently not a straight at all. And climb uphill into Paddock Hill Bend. Downhill, along, over the curb. And then up Haywood Hill towards Druids. That's being reeled off very rapidly. Just in the high 1 minute 36 second bracket there is Nathalie Genu-Prache. She is currently just behind David Harvey in the unique 340R. Nathalie is beginning faster and faster through the course of the season. Jean-Pierre Genu-Prache, spouse is broken, some way clear of that scrap. They're also joined by the bright red 211, that is Benoit Roger. Here is the front of the production class, and John Rass, Belgian driver, looking imperious. In car then with John Packer. He's found plenty of people to play with, and Packer has been increasingly spectacular this year. Very impressive pace throughout the course of each weekend. He seems to get quicker as the weekend unfolds. That train of cars then headed by the white number 6 car of Nicholas Walker. He has got Christophe Lisandre just in behind him. John Packer towards the tail of that group. I think it's possibly Philly Loop who is just up ahead of him. well as Jean-Baptiste Loop. In fact, Philippe, of course, driving Exige V6 car, Jean-Baptiste in the 211. As front of the field, we have got Jonathan Walker beginning to ease away from Jeremy Lorenko. Lorenko in pursuit, still through Paddock Hill Bend. And that's looking a little bit smoother from Lorenko compared to earlier in the race. Just those solid, positive turns to the steering wheel. That means he's got the car working as he wants to. It means he's finding the grip as he wanted it to be. Downhill out of Druids, the left-hander at Brownhill Bend next along. And another slightly sideways moment from Lorenko. He's not enjoying the left-hander at all. But that time around, the tail of the car just kicking out. A couple of laps ago it was understeer that cost him the lead of the race. And that time it was oversteer that cost him a couple of tenths of a second. And it means that John Walker is now beginning to open up an advantage that is going to be somewhat challenging for Lorenko to chase down. Back to the head of the production class still, John Rass. He's got a nice healthy buffer, as has been so often the case this season. And again, the shot into the cockpit there, Rass, just a very solid positive turn on the wheel. Meanwhile, there is Christophe Lezandre, the 211, who has just dropped away a little bit from Nicholas Walker. So out front though, it is John Walker who leads for Jeremy Lorenko. We'll take a short break. Join us in a couple of moments' time.